As a storyteller, I think that there's fantastic wealth to be had in finding the stories that maybe get overlooked, or the stories that hold secrets, the things that you're not allowed to talk about. And those stories are often held among the women, and they're to do with family histories. And they make fantastic stories. I'd studied painting at Ilam School of Fine Arts, and they had a course called Moving Image, but I didn't realise that was film. Anyway, any serious student in those days was always in the painting department, so I was in the painting department. So it wasn't until I was working as an art therapist in a psychiatric hospital just outside Cambridge in England that I got involved with making a film as a sort of an end product to a drama therapy project. And my friend had a camera and a little edit. She was going to make the film. I was the art therapist, drama therapist, who was working with these people. And she eloped. And I just came home to a little set of 8mm film cans and an editing thing. And found I really liked it. People pay attention when they're in the dark and looking at somebody's face made large. And these were people that would never get attention otherwise. We made this film, and then it became something that helped further drama therapy throughout the county because we had a film. If I'd written a paper, it would have been read by 3 people and published in some art therapy magazine. You know, it just felt to me like this medium, A, I like it, because you can cut out the bits you don't like and you just put the bits you do like up there. And B, it's powerful. I came back from England in 1977 and quite accidentally really got a job at Pacific Films with John O'Shea. And my real interest still has remained the same, which is communicating local stories to local audiences. You know, I sort of see myself as part of this small community with a part to play in terms of rendering some of the invisible things visible. It's really easy to forget how we didn't even make films ourselves in New Zealand. We were just getting used to that. This is pre-Film Commission. And certainly it wasn't something that women did. Women invariably worked in production. I mean, there were others that weren't, but, you know, there were other people who became filmmakers at the same time as I did. Yvonne Mackay did, and Melanie Reid, now Rodriguez, did. But, you know, they were we were weird. We were the weird ones. Oh, Mr. Wrong was hugely hard. Well, I didn't make life any easier for myself by choosing to make it with Robin Lang, who I talked into being a producer. And though I was one of the more experienced filmmakers to take on a feature film, in that I'd made 7 or 8 documentaries before then, it's a huge leap. So Robin came on board, and then there was a real problem because there was 2 women. And we'd go to meetings, and the person we were meeting would sit and look nervously at the door, and there'd be a whole lot of sort of chit-chat, and then finally someone would say, "Oh, is there anyone with you?" And we go, "No." And they go, "Oh, is this all there is then?" We go, "Yeah." And they go, "Oh, right." And we realised after a while that they were waiting for a man to arrive as somebody they could talk to. So things have changed, haven't they? That wouldn't happen now, would it? Anyway, then they didn't know, was it a ghost story? What was it? We'd say, it's a thriller. And they go, yeah, but it's quite funny. We go, yeah, well, it's a comedy thriller. but it's got a ghost in it. Is it a ghost story? Yeah, it's a ghost story, comedy, thriller. And they go, oh, they don't know what they're doing. Haven't got a clue. I didn't realise when I was making it, we just thought people would smile. It never occurred to me that anyone would scream. We took it to Canada and we sold it. We sold it in 93 territories or something. Graham Tetley was working on Bread and Roses with Robin and I, and he started talking to me about this film he'd thought up called Ruby and Rata, and I got more and more interested. And I suppose Ruby and Rata is really just a simple comedy of a comedy of manners, really, where you've got an old lady upstairs who is hoping that the tenant downstairs will look after her, and she's not letting on that she's the owner. And Rata, who arrives with her truanting boy, is full of lies also. So everybody's telling everybody else lies. I liked the idea of having an old lady who wasn't a witchy old lady, but was capable of being incredibly manipulative and very scary, as only a person who was fighting for her life and her independence could possibly be. Ruby and Rata is a comedy that has got a very serious conversation at its heart about new right politics and how the very old and the very young just fall through the cracks. You know, they're not a part of the market economy and everybody else scraggles along. And unfortunately, it's as relevant now as the day as it was made. I thought, well, it'd be really interesting to do a drama around some women living around sort of Newtown during World War II. And we started working, you know, I started sketching out a few ideas around that. And at that time, Sonia Davies, who was a mate of mine, started reading her book on the radio. And I'm thinking, well, actually, why are we making it up? It's all there. We were making a mini-series in a country that didn't do that sort of thing. Unfortunately, the New Zealand television catalogue of mini-series is really, really small. It was a mini-series that was a historical piece, so it was period. There was some criticism later when Bread and Roses was eligible for a huge amount of awards and won some. Unfortunately, by that stage, the commissioning editor that had commissioned Bread and Roses was well down the track. He was about 3 people ago, and it was referred to by the Television New Zealand executive as an aberration and an oddity. And unfortunately, he was right. There are still less women working in all sorts of areas in the film area, in filmmaking in New Zealand than I would have hoped then for now. I think a lot of the thing about making a film is that you've actually just got to give yourself permission to do it. And after that, it's hard schlep because most of your time will be spent fundraising. But I've got a bit of bent wiring in my head that's very contrary. So when I'm fundraising, when they say no, that's when I go, well, I have to now, because I haven't persuaded them well and they don't understand what it is. So in order to persuade them, I have to make the film.
We're going to do one more on Bread and Roses.
Okay, go on.
What were you going to say? You're going to say we're getting near the end.
I was going to let you know about 8 minutes.
You're going to have fun cutting this, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. But no.
Just use the best bit.